Hey you guys, so it's me, Johnny, and I am finally getting around to my HBO movie review of Snow White and the Huntsman. I know I said I needed 15 minutes, but after watching that cinematic abortion, I needed 15 hours to really kind of get my thoughts together. This movie came out in June of 2012 here in the States. I believe it came out a month earlier in the UK. It was directed by Rupert Sanders. And of course, it starred Kristen Stewart, Chris Hemsworth, Charlize Theron, and Sam Claflin. If the name sounds familiar, that's because he was Philip Snow in Pirates of the Caribbean, and he will also be playing Finnick Odair in Hunger Games: Catching Fire. So look out for him for that. So, all right. So the movie in question, the cinematic abortion, like I said, is Snow White and the Huntsman. So let's dip into this movie. So the movie starts out. Spoiler alert, if you've not seen this movie, I mean, it's worth sitting down for the visual effects. I will say that. You might get something out of it. You might not. Everyone's different. I didn't get shit out of it. And you're about to find out why. So it all starts off with basically Snow White's mother is looking at roses. It's like, dead of winter, and she pricks her finger on the thorn, and then like some blood falls on the ground on the snow, and she wished that her daughter was white as snow with red lips as blood and black hair as a raven, and the heart is strong and defied as a rose. That she found all this other shit because the rose is still blooming in the snow. She then out of nowhere gives birth to Snow White, who is her daughter, the daughter to the king Magnus, who's played by some random dude I totally spaced, in this kingdom that they call Tabor. Right. So all of a sudden, the typical fairy tale setup, the mom is giving birth. Now she tragically falls ill and dies. The daddy, is grief-stricken, but then, he runs across this, really hot piece, played by Charlize Theron, whose character's name is Ravana, who little does he know is her beauty is enchanted. And he thinks he rescued her from a dark army, right? These invading forces, these glass soldiers and stuff. And actually, we all know she's the powerful sorceress. She ends up killing the daddy. And then basically, the series of events goes that, okay, let me backtrack a bit. So there's this implication that basically like that, basically, that he's just a dog, and she's like, it don't matter anyway. She takes control of the kingdom. She's killed, the king or whatever. The Duke, who is his brother, escapes with his son, but they are unable to get Snow White, who is captured, and then they lock her up in the tower, and then Ravana is staying forever young, because, she's one of them broads that believe in the motto of Forever 21 and believes that it's more than just the name of a clothing store. She, ever so often, kidnaps the little young Betty and, drains them of their blood, eats their heart, does some other things to stay, beat to capacity. Well, then she finds out from the magic mirror that basically, Snow White is the ish, and if she don't hurry up and eat her heart, that, Snow White is going to, destroy her. So, Snow White somehow catches wind. And on top of that, if she eats Snow White's heart, she'll become immortal. So extra motivation for that. So she's like, let's go eat Snow White. Snow White catches wind and dips. She bounces some way, somehow, out the castle, runs into the dark forest. Ravana's brother goes after her. And the next thing you know, Snow White's all knocked out and all up in the forest. So, let me just point out and say that in this film, believe it or not, even though some people will disagree, Kristen Stewart actually showed a little bit more emotional depth for once. Of course, it was always at the wrong and inopportune times in the movie, but she did attempt to show it, and we'll get to where they were wrong and inopportune in a second. Anyway, the brother loses her, and so Ravana's angry and decides that she's going to find someone to track her down. So they get a huntsman, which is played by Chris Hemsworth, and he is promised by Ravana that basically that she will bring his dead wife back, who was killed tragically. So kind of Yeah, and he's a drunkard and a fool and all this other mess. So he goes into the forest, tries to get her. He gets to the little girl, and then, of course, he realizes that basically he's being duped. Fights the brother, injures the brother, kills the other men. Him and Snow White take off, and the next thing you know, he's following her on this journey. So meanwhile, Ravana, is mad and sends the brother back out again, and he goes out with more forces. Meanwhile, the Duke and his son William are hiding at this one spot. And William's like, I'm going to go get her. And the daddy's like, you're the only son I got, don't do it. And of course, he defies his father. And he joins up Ravana's brother by shooting the bowman. Yeah, that's what he does. Shoots the brother, because I think the brother's name is Finn. He joins Finn's band because what he does is he's like, you need a bowman? He's like, all right, I got a bowman. And then he like shoots the bowman before the bowman gets out. He's like, I said you need a bowman. Trying to be all badass. Okay, whatever. So he joins the band so that he can track Snow White. So a series of mishaps and unfortunate events leads to these fools ending up in this enchanted forest area where they have this totally Disney-esque moment where she walks up to this white buck with these big antlers that blesses her, and then of course dark arrow out of nowhere from Finn and his group, and the damn thing turns into just white beautiful starlings and like flies away and all this other mess. P.S. There are 8 dwarves in the movie, but they conveniently kill one for dramatic effect, so then they are down to 7. Okay, and I'm done with saying that. So then we go on to the movie drags into finally William has joined up with Eric, who is the huntsman, and Snow White and the dwarves. The dwarves, which by the way, there's this one dwarf that is blind basically, but you don't realize he's blind, but he's blind, who basically is nothing more than a short version of Tyrese, the blind prophet from the Odyssey, who's like, she's the one. So then all the dwarves decide they're going to follow her after, they basically were like, we're really not going to follow you because we don't know shit about you and we don't believe that you're the princess. But now he says this, so it's cool, and we just lost our friends, so, and there's only 7 of us, so why not, there's, safety in numbers, I guess, was their logic. I don't know. So we then get to, oh, Rupert, why did you direct this film? Okay, so then we get to the part where, wow. So we finally get to the part where everyone's asleep or whatever. Snow White is walking in the forest by herself. She runs into William, and William and her talking. He offers her an apple. They talk about, this unrequited love of when they were children. She bites the apple, and of course it becomes all furry and shit, and then he transmorphs, and it's really Ravana, who's like, love, only, destroys some bullshit, whatever. She falls, out, and, Ravana is like, gone. Because basically they get there, realize that she done fell out. They start attacking Ravana. Ravana turns down all these black ravens, and so they keep stabbing the ravens up. Which, by the way, the special effects in CGI were really great because when Ravana rematerializes in her throne room, she is a very a pool of blood, basically, with just her upper half of her body supporting her until she's able to heal herself, which is very cool. Again, Charlize Theron looked very beautiful in the movie. So then it goes on to, of course, they finally reach their destination they were trying to get to. They take her to Hammond's castle. She's laying in repose. William, is all angry and this, that, and other. Now, mind you, William kisses her when she first dies, but of course she don't wake up because when she's in repose, a drunken Eric tips in and says, the reason why I followed you is because I care about you, because you remind me of my dead wife, that innocence that I lost. And then he kisses her, and of course she wakes up. Now, mind you, she started crying before he kissed her, so that was one of the inopportune moments that misplaced moments of emotion. But damn it, Kristen tried. She tried real hard. So of course she wakes up, and then all of a sudden she's got this battle cry going on, which leads to this defunct fight sequence between Glass Mirror soldiers, Chris Hemsworth and Sam Claflin, who basically, Sam is down for the count for a hot second. The Huntsman makes it through, but of course Snow White has killed the queen in a very lackluster fight sequence between the two. So here are my issues with the movie. First of all, let's talk about the fact that Kristen Stewart has the emotional range of a defunct starfish. She tried really hard. And while some people will say that you have to forget... not look at Snow White as a character. Actually, the more I thought about it, I realized you have to, and here's the reason why. Because without her, there would have been no story. Because, see, here's the problem. The whole story is this simple. You ready? Here goes. Vagina in distress, men will follow. That's the whole theme of the story, people. Without the vagina in distress, they not gonna follow. And in fact, the vagina was laying dead, was under an enchanted magic spell, okay? And they was still following her. They was weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. Baby, they needed someone to wake that hoe up. Boom, it was the drunk huntsman. How about that? Not to mention the fact that while the special effects were really good, and I will say for this much, besides the fact that the special effects were good, Charlize Theron, I love the character of Ravonna because they really made her humanistic. You find out, you watch her little backstory a little bit in flashbacks, and you realize that basically, like her grandmother, someone has basically put the spell on her that she will stay forever young. And you see how much Ravonna has lost in her life. You know, and so you really see the emotional depth of how Ravonna became the evil queen that she is. But other than that, like, it was just like Liam Hemsworth would just run around, you know, screaming, you know, every 2 seconds, I should leave you, I should leave you. Then he leaves, you know, villages getting burned, you know, people getting raped and killed and cut up and whatnot because, you know, he wants to be stupid. Then he want to come back when he see the fire. And I'm like, for real, William was overrated. You know, he was all flash and no real substance. Hell, he couldn't even wake up his boo. So, and then after that, they still didn't get together. Yeah, and I'm really angry about the fact that there were 8 dwarves, because count them, there's 8, and then they kill one conveniently for dramatic effect. And more importantly, may I point out that this film was a foreshadowing of what was going to go on in Kristen Stewart's real life. I mean, after all, you know, her boo was supposed to be William, and it was, you know, Eric the Huntsman that kissed her and woke her up. In real life, Robert Pattinson was supposed to be her boo, and she got caught making out with the director of this film, Rupert Sanders. Right, you feel me? Thank you very much. Yeah, this, you know, this was art imitating life, imitating art. It was ridiculous how this went down. All in all, I don't understand really how this shit made millions of dollars, but it did somehow. I know my review may not mean, you know, crap to most of you, but to me, it's comfort and solace, because at the end of the day, this movie gets no love from me. Like I said, the special effects were beautiful. Charlize Theron was beautiful and had great intent. Everyone else had pretty decent acting chops, except for our favorite wet sponge, Miss Kristen Stewart, who showed more emotional range when she was a diabetic 12-year-old girl in the movie Panic with Jodie Foster. Panic Room, sorry, with Jodie Foster. So, with that being said, you can watch this movie if you want to. But yeah, they was doing way too much for way too little. And even though Kristen Stewart only had collectively maybe 50 lines altogether, I will say this much. Her battle cry was a little impassioned. A little. But I think she stole the thunder of Lily Sobieski from Joan of Arc. And then, you know, tried to channel that in. You know, with a little bit of her inner bitch. And be like, boom, like, you know, we need to go in and fight and do some stuff. Because she was really kind of crying and, you know, weeping and wailing through the entire movie. But then all of a sudden, like, she got a backbone all of a sudden because she got woke up by the hot huntsman that, you know, didn't even have DC put a ring on it. I mean, whatever. So with that being said, that's my HBO movie review. Take it or leave it for what it is. Yeah, Snow White and the Huntsman. Yeah, not really my Jones, people. So until next time, I am going to see what else is on my TV for me to like or not like. And yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go see The Butler this Friday after Gen Con that evening. I'm gonna go see The Butler. So when I see The Butler, I will get ready to give you a review, because Oprah and them wigs, and I think this is her year, y'all. I think she's going to get that Oscar she should have got for Color Purple. So I am Johnny, and this is HBO Home Movie Review. I'm out. Deuces.